Senior researcher Val Ziri of the Galactic Institute of Sinological Studies had spent 15 cycles studying humanity's peculiar habits, but nothing fascinated her more than their obsession with naming military vessels. Her own species, the Marilli, designated ships with precise mathematical sequences based on their function and capabilities. Yet humans insisted on giving their vessels names laden with history, emotion, and meaning. Val Ziri's laboratory pod orbited Earth's moon, its crystalline walls displaying countless streams of battle data. Her 4 sensor stalks twitched with excitement as she reviewed the latest analysis. The patterns were becoming impossible to ignore. "Computer, display comparative statistics for the UES Thermopylae," she commanded. The air before her shimmered as holographic charts materialized. The human vessel had survived 12 major engagements where probability calculations indicated certain destruction. In each case, the ship had performed far beyond its technical specifications. But the Thermopylae wasn't unique. The UES Never Surrender, Remember Pearl Harbor, and Spirit of Dunkirk all displayed similar anomalies. Ships named after moments of historical defiance or incredible perseverance consistently achieved the statistically impossible. Val Ziri's attention shifted to a new data stream. Her latest sensor array, designed to detect quantum-level fluctuations, was picking up something extraordinary around these named vessels. The readings made no sense according to conventional physics. "Professor, you requested notification of the Arcturus engagement." Her assistant's voice chimed through the comm system. "Yes, patch it through." Val Ziri's sensor stalks focused on the new tactical display. A single human destroyer, the UES Humanity's Shield, faced 3 Ravager warships. The Ravagers were cybernetic pirates who had terrorized the outer colonies for decades. Their ships outmassed the destroyer 10-1. The battle that followed defied every tactical analysis program. The Humanity's Shield moved with impossible precision, its weapons finding weak points that shouldn't have been visible at that range. But most interesting were the quantum readings. The space around the ship rippled with patterns Val Ziri had only seen in her previous studies of named vessels. As the last Ravager ship retreated, Val Ziri made her decision. She had to share her findings, no matter how controversial they might be. She began composing a message to the High Council of Sciences. "Honored council members, I believe I have discovered something that fundamentally challenges our understanding of reality. The human practice of naming their ships is not mere cultural tradition. It appears to have measurable effects on quantum fields surrounding their vessels. My research suggests that when humans name a ship, particularly after historical events or concepts of deep cultural significance, they create what I term a resonance field. This field appears to allow the ship to briefly align with probability streams that favor the meaning encoded in its name. I have attached full sensor readings and statistical analyses. The pattern is consistent across hundreds of engagements. Ships named after moments of historical defiance or protection show enhanced performance when facing overwhelming odds. Vessels named for swift victory excel in pursuit and strike missions. The correlation exceeds any possibility of coincidence. More importantly, I have detected quantum-level anomalies that suggest these names somehow anchor conceptual meaning to physical reality. The implications are staggering. Humanity may have accidentally discovered a fundamental force that unifies consciousness, meaning, and physical law. I request immediate funding for expanded studies. If my theories prove correct, we may need to revise our entire understanding of how conscious intention interacts with the physical universe. Respectfully, Senior Researcher Val Ziri. As she transmitted the message, Val Ziri's sensor stalks quivered with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She knew her findings would be met with skepticism. The idea that simply naming something could affect its performance violated countless accepted theories. But the data didn't lie. And if she was right, humanity had stumbled upon something extraordinary, a power that had been hiding in plain sight throughout their history, wrapped in their love of meaningful names and resonant stories. Her instruments chimed, drawing her attention to a new alert, A human battlecruiser had just launched from Mars orbit. Its name registered on her sensors, UES, Unbreakable Dawn. As she watched its quantum signature bloom into existence, she wondered if the humans had any idea what they had discovered, or how it would change the galaxy's understanding of reality itself. The Unbreakable Dawn signature was stronger than any she'd previously recorded. Something was changing, evolving. The power of names was growing, and Val-Ziri intended to understand why, no matter what it might cost her reputation in the scientific community. She began preparing her next series of experiments, knowing that she stood on the brink of a discovery that would reshape galactic civilization's understanding of consciousness, meaning, and reality itself. The humans had shown the way, through their persistence in naming things not just for what they were, but for what they meant. Now it was time to understand the true power of that meaning. The emergency alert jolted Val-Ziri from her calculations. A distress signal was broadcasting across all frequencies, originating from the Lyrian colony world. The peaceful, crystalline beings who had helped develop her quantum sensors were under attack from an unknown force. Her laboratory's displays shifted to show tactical data. Her sensor stocks froze in horror. 15 warships of unknown design had emerged from fold space, their intentions clear as they began systematic orbital bombardment of Lyrian research stations. But what caught her attention wasn't the attackers. It was the single human vessel responding to the distress call. The UES Memory of Earth had been conducting routine patrol duty in a nearby sector. Now it moved at full speed toward certain destruction, drastically outgunned and outnumbered. Val-Ziri quickly activated her full sensor array. If her theories about ship names were correct, this would provide invaluable data. The Memory of Earth was named for humanity's pledge to prevent other worlds from suffering environmental devastation, like their homeworld had nearly experienced. Its name carried the weight of an entire species' determination to protect. Computer, establish quantum field monitoring. Record all anomalies. She broadcast on a secure channel to the Lyrian Defense Council. This is Senior Researcher Val-Ziri. Request permission to observe the incoming engagement with full sensor coverage. The response was immediate. Granted, researcher. Though we fear there will be little to observe, the human vessel cannot hope to prevail against such odds. Val-Ziri's sensor stalks quivered with anticipation. Don't be so certain, she muttered. The Memory of Earth's captain, Sarah Chen, appeared on emergency broadcasts to all Lyrian stations. This is Captain Chen. We are aware of the odds. We are aware of the risk. But humanity remembers what it means to watch your world burn. We will not allow it to happen here. All civilian vessels begin immediate evacuation. We will cover your retreat. Val-Ziri's quantum sensors began registering unusual readings before the battle even began. The space around the Memory of Earth rippled with probability distortions. As the 15 enemy vessels moved to intercept, their targeting systems seemed to have difficulty maintaining lock. The battle that followed defied conventional physics. The Memory of Earth moved with impossible precision, as if it could anticipate enemy attack patterns seconds before they developed. Its shields absorbed impacts that should have overwhelmed them, and its counterstrikes found vulnerabilities that shouldn't have been detectable at combat speeds. Val-Ziri's sensors recorded everything. The quantum field surrounding the ship pulsed with patterns that matched the emotional resonance of its name. Humanity's collective memory of environmental catastrophe and their fierce determination to prevent such destruction elsewhere. 3 enemy vessels fell in the first exchange, their advanced shields failing against shots that seemed guided by more than computer targeting. The Memory of Earth took damage but fought on, its very presence creating a safe corridor for civilian ships to escape. Fascinating, Val-Ziri muttered, her sensor stalks twitching as she recorded the data. The quantum resonance is actually increasing as the battle continues. It's as if the ship is drawing strength from fulfilling the very purpose its name represents. The enemy commander, clearly unnerved by losing the advantage of superior numbers, switched tactics. Their remaining ships attempted to bypass the Memory of Earth, targeting the Lyrian evacuation vessels directly. It was exactly the wrong move. Captain Chen's voice rang out again, not just to her crew, but to all monitoring channels. Remember Earth. Remember what we lost. Remember what we promised. Not one more world. Not one more species. Not while we draw breath. The quantum readings around the memory of Earth spiked beyond anything in Val Ziri's previous research. Reality itself seemed to bend as the human vessel executed maneuvers that violated the laws of physics, its weapons finding marks that should have been impossible to hit. The enemy fleet, now reduced to 7 ships, began to retreat. The memory of Earth, despite severe damage to multiple systems, maintained its defensive position until the last Lyrian vessel reached safe distance. As the battle concluded, Val Ziri's appendages trembled as she reviewed the sensor data. The quantum field interactions were undeniable. The ship's name, and the purpose and meaning it carried, had somehow allowed it to temporarily transcend normal physical limitations. She immediately began composing a priority message to the High Council of Sciences. This was no longer theoretical research. She had documented proof that human ship names could affect physical reality through quantum-level interactions. Captain Chen's final transmission to the Lyrian colony crystallized everything Val Ziri had been trying to prove. This is why we name our ships as we do. Not for glory, not for intimidation, but as a promise. The memory of Earth carries humanity's pledge to defend life wherever we find it. Today, we kept that promise. As Val Ziri processed the battle data, she realized she had only scratched the surface. The power of names wasn't just about enhanced combat performance. It was about the manifestation of meaning itself in physical space. Humanity had discovered something profound, perhaps by accident, that could reshape their understanding of consciousness and reality. She needed to share these findings quickly. Because if she was right, this was only the beginning. As more species learned of this power, the very nature of space combat, and perhaps civilization itself, would change forever. Val Ziri stood before the Galactic Science Council, her sensor stock steady despite her inner tension. The amphitheater was packed with representatives from 30 spacefaring species, all drawn by the implications of her research. The battle footage from the memory of Earth's defense of the Lyrian colony played behind her, quantum field visualizations overlaid on the tactical display. The evidence is irrefutable, she concluded. Human ship names generate quantum resonance fields that affect probability itself. But it's not the mere act of naming that creates this effect. It's the weight of meaning behind the name. The reaction was immediate and divisive. The Morelli science director's crystalline form pulsed with skepticism. This defies fundamental laws of physics. Meaning cannot affect material reality. Then explain this. Val Ziri brought up new data. In the past 30 days, since my preliminary findings were shared, 12 species have attempted to replicate the effect. Only 3 have succeeded. The pattern is clear. The successful attempts came from the Lyrians, who had named a ship crystal's memory of protection after their experience with the memory of Earth. The Auroran Collective, who had named a vessel Light of Ancient Songs, and the Novan Republic, whose ship Eternal Vigil had demonstrated similar quantum resonance patterns. The failed attempts all share a common factor, Val Ziri continued. They assign names without cultural or emotional investment. The Mechanist Consortium simply designated their ships with poetic phrases. The Unified Swarm tried using intimidating titles. None generated measurable quantum effects. A new hologram appeared. A Lyrian science vessel engaging pirates in the Outer Rim. Crystal's memory of protection exhibited the same reality-bending properties as human ships, its crystalline structure resonating with the quantum field in ways that amplified its defensive capabilities. The name must carry genuine meaning, Val Ziri explained. The Lyrians succeeded because they named their ship after a profound moment in their cultural history, one they had personally experienced. The Aurorans drew from their deepest spiritual traditions. The Novans chose a concept central to their society's core values. The mechanist representatives' mechanical eyes wared as they processed this. You're suggesting that collective belief and cultural significance can affect quantum-level physics. I'm stating it as scientific fact. Val Zuri corrected. Humanity has been doing it for centuries. They simply expressed their understanding through stories and tradition, rather than physics equations. She displayed a new series of readings. But there's more. As more species successfully adopt meaningful naming practices, we're seeing evidence of quantum resonance harmonics. When ships with complementary names operate together, their fields interact in ways that amplify the effect. The footage shifted to a joint patrol of human and Lyrian vessels. The quantum fields surrounding Memory of Earth and Crystal's Memory of Protection pulsed in synchronized patterns, creating effects greater than either ship could generate alone. We're discovering that meaning itself may be a fundamental force, Val Zuri continued, one that we've always affected unconsciously, but that humanity learned to channel through their naming traditions. And now that knowledge is spreading. The swarm ambassador's compound eyes flickered. If this power comes from cultural meaning, our collective consciousness should be able to generate enormous effects. Only if you understand the crucial element, Val Ziri cautioned. The resonance requires genuine investment in the meaning. You cannot simply assign significance. It must be lived, believed, felt at a civilizational level. She brought up her final dataset. Look at the quantum signature variations. Ships named for concepts of protection generate different patterns than those named for concepts of discovery or remembrance. The effect isn't just real, it's specific to the type of meaning encoded in the name. The implications slowly rippled through the assembly. This wasn't just a new technology to be replicated. It was a fundamental shift in how consciousness interacted with reality. Species that had relied purely on technological advancement would need to reevaluate their entire approach to space warfare and exploration. There's one more thing, Val Ziri added. The effect appears to be strengthening. As more species successfully adopt meaningful naming practices, the quantum resonance patterns are becoming more pronounced. It's as if reality itself is becoming more responsive to concentrated meaning. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives immediately began consulting their cultural historians, looking for naming traditions that could be adapted to their vessels. Others argued for new research into quantum consciousness. A few seemed shaken by the idea that belief and meaning could directly affect physical law. Val Ziri's sensor stalks wavered with satisfaction. The galaxy was beginning to understand what humanity had known instinctively, that names had power, that meaning mattered, that consciousness itself could shape reality when properly focused through cultural and emotional significance. As the council debated, new reports arrived from across the galaxy. More species were successfully naming ships. Each success seemed to make the next one easier, as if the fabric of space-time was learning to respond to meaning itself. The age of pure mathematics and cold technology was ending. A new era of quantum resonance and cultural significance had begun, and somewhere out in the darkness between the stars, ancient forces stirred, forces that existed before names had meaning, before consciousness learned to shape reality. They sensed the change coming to their domain, and they did not approve. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began as the first reports arrived. At the edges of known space, entire sectors were going dark, not through violence or invasion, but through a more fundamental kind of erasure, as if reality itself was being unmade. Val Ziri's sensor stalks trembled as she studied the readings. The quantum resonance patterns were unlike anything she'd seen before, anti-patterns that didn't just disrupt the effects of named ships, but seemed to negate meaning itself. "They're coming," the Auroran representative whispered, their luminescent form dimming with dread. "The Void Dancers, the ones our oldest songs warn about, those who existed before meaning." Captain Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood before the assembled representatives. The memory of Earth's successful defense of the Lyrian colony had made her humanity's natural spokesperson in this crisis. "These entities aren't just attacking our ships or our worlds," she explained, gesturing to the tactical displays. They're attacking the fundamental force we've only just begun to understand, the power of meaning itself. The evidence was undeniable. Conventional vessels disappeared without trace when they encountered the anomalies. Even named ships struggle to maintain their quantum resonance fields in the presence of these anti-meaning entities. Our naming technology is still in its infancy, the Morelli science director observed. Most species have only begun to grasp its potential. We're not ready for this kind of threat. Then we must evolve quickly, Val Ziri interjected. Her research had continued since the initial discovery, revealing new depths to the phenomenon. I've detected something fascinating in recent engagements. When ships with complementary names operate together, their quantum resonance fields don't just add together, they multiply. She displayed readings from a recent joint operation. A human vessel named Legacy of Dawn had paired with a Lyrian ship called Crystal's First Light. Their combined quantum field had generated effects far beyond what either ship could achieve alone. We've been thinking too small, Val Ziri continued. Each species has been approaching this through their own cultural lens, but meaning itself transcends cultural boundaries. What if we could create a truly unified fleet, with names that resonate across all our traditions? Admiral Chen nodded slowly. A symphony of names, each reinforcing the others. But how do we even begin to create something like that? The swarm ambassador's compound eyes flickered with sudden insight. We have already begun. Look at what happened when we stopped trying to name our ships for intimidation and instead chose names that reflected our newfound understanding of individual consciousness within the collective. True enough, the swarm vessel Harmony of Many Voices had successfully generated quantum resonance fields once they understood the true nature of meaningful names. Val Ziri brought up new simulations. If we carefully coordinate our naming conventions, we could create quantum harmonics that reinforce each other. Human ships named for protection and memory, Lyrian vessels resonating with crystalline clarity, Auroran ships carrying the weight of ancient songs. The tactical displays shifted, showing the approaching void where meaning seemed to break down. They had perhaps weeks before the first major confrontation. We need to act quickly, Admiral Chen decided. Every species here has something unique to contribute, not just in technology or tactics, but in how you understand and express meaning itself. The planning began in earnest. The Morelli, who had initially been skeptical, provided mathematical models for optimizing quantum resonance patterns. The Aurorans shared their deepest understanding of harmony and resonance. The swarm offered insights into how individual meanings could reinforce collective purpose. Shipyards across the galaxy began the unprecedented task of creating a truly unified fleet. Each vessel would be named not just for one culture's values, but for concepts that resonated across species boundaries. The first of these new ships was a joint human-Lyrian design. They named it Eternal Light of Understanding, its quantum signature already showing patterns more complex than anything previously recorded. As the void entities drew closer, more ships joined the fleet. The Auroran Light of Shared Stories, the Morelli Equations of Harmony, the Swarm Vessel Dance of Individual Stars. Each name was chosen carefully, designed to resonate not just with its own crew but with the entire fleet. Val Ziri's research center became the focal point for monitoring these quantum harmonics. The patterns were evolving faster than anyone had predicted, as if the ships themselves were learning to communicate through the language of meaning. There's something else, she reported to Admiral Chen one cycle before the expected confrontation. The quantum fields aren't just affecting the ships anymore. They're beginning to influence space-time itself. It's as if. She paused, her sensor stalks wavering with uncertainty. It's as if reality is remembering how to respond to meaning. Admiral Chen studied the data, her expression thoughtful. Perhaps that's what these void entities fear. Not our weapons or our technology, but our ability to make reality itself resonate with purpose. The void continued to approach anti-patterns of meaninglessness threatening to unravel everything the galaxy's species had built. But for the first time, they would face it together. their ships carrying names that sang across the quantum fabric of space-time itself. The final battle would test not just their technology or their courage, but their fundamental understanding of how consciousness, meaning, and reality intertwined. And in the darkness between the stars, the newly named fleet waited, ready to defend not just physical space, but the very existence of meaning itself. The unified fleet hung in formation at the edge of known space, 1,000 ships from 30 species arranged in precise patterns calculated to maximize their quantum resonance fields. At its heart, the eternal light of understanding pulsed with harmonics that rippled through the fabric of reality itself. Val-Ziri monitored the readings from her newly designed quantum observatory. The void entities were approaching, massive distortions in space-time that negated meaning itself. But something was different now. The combined resonance of the named fleet created patterns she had never seen before. All ships, report status. Admiral Chen's voice carried across the fleet-wide channel from her flagship, Memory of Earth. The responses came in sequence, each ship's name adding its own note to the growing quantum symphony. The Lyrian crystal's unified purpose, the Auroran song of tomorrow's light, the Morelli equation of endless discovery, the swarm vessel dance of connected minds, each one generating fields that reinforced and amplified the others. The void approaches, Val-Ziri announced, her sensor stalks rigid with tension. But look at this. The quantum harmonics are already affecting local space-time. Reality itself seems to be remembering how to resist them. The first wave of void entities emerged from the darkness. They moved like tears in the fabric of existence, their very presence causing unnamed support vessels to flicker and distort. But where they encountered the quantum fields generated by named ships, they found resistance. Now we understand. Admiral Chen broadcast to the fleet. These entities don't just hate meaning, they fear it. Because meaning, true meaning shared across minds and cultures, is the one force they cannot unmake. The battle began not with weapons, but with resonance. Each ship's quantum field pulsed in harmony with its neighbors, creating layers of reinforced meaning that the void entities couldn't easily penetrate. Where they tried to erase reality, the named fleet's combined purpose held it in place. The patterns are evolving, Val-Ziri reported, her excitement overriding her fear. Look at the quantum signatures. They're not just protecting our ships anymore. They're actually pushing back the void, forcing reality to remember itself. The void entities responded with increasing fury. They concentrated their anti-meaning effect, trying to create gaps in the fleet's defense. But wherever they pressed, ships with complementary names moved to reinforce each other. The Memory of Earth and Crystal's unified purpose synchronized their fields, their combined resonance reminding local space-time of the importance of preservation and protection. The Song of Tomorrow's Light and the equation of endless discovery harmonized to reinforce the concept of progress and understanding. They're trying to adapt, the swarm ambassador observed from Dance of Connected Minds. But they don't understand. Adaptation requires meaning. Change requires purpose. They're fighting against the very force that makes existence possible. Val-Ziri's instruments recorded something extraordinary. The quantum resonance fields weren't just defending against the void. They were beginning to affect the entities themselves. Where the fields touched them, the entities started to develop patterns, as if reality was forcing them to accept meaning. All ships, Admiral Chen commanded, concentrate your resonance fields. We're not just fighting for survival now. We're fighting for the very nature of existence itself. The fleet moved as one, their carefully chosen names creating a quantum symphony that rippled through space-time. The eternal light of understanding led the charge, its name carrying the combined weight of every species' desire to comprehend and preserve meaning. The void entities recoiled as their anti-patterns began to break down. Where they had brought emptiness, they now encountered purpose. Where they had unleashed chaos, they found harmony. Where they had tried to erase meaning, they discovered that meaning itself had become an unstoppable force. Valzeri's sensors recorded the final moments as the quantum resonance reached unprecedented levels. The void entities didn't just retreat, they transformed. Their anti-patterns collapsed into new configurations that somehow incorporated meaning while maintaining their ancient nature. "They're not gone," she reported, studying the readings. "They've evolved. The quantum resonance fields didn't destroy them. They taught them how to exist within meaning rather than in opposition to it." As the transformed entities retreated into deep space, the fleet's quantum harmonics stabilized into a new pattern. The ship's names still sang together, but now their resonance had fundamentally altered the nature of local spacetime. "We've done more than win a battle," Admiral Chen addressed the fleet. "We've proven that meaning itself is the foundation of reality. Not any one species' meaning, but the harmony we create when we share our understanding across boundaries." Valzeri's final readings confirmed what they all sensed. The power of names had evolved beyond its origins in human military vessels. It had become something greater, a fundamental force that united consciousness, meaning, and reality itself. The unified fleet returned to known space, but the galaxy they returned to had changed. Ships would never again be mere vessels of metal and energy. They had become containers of meaning, their names carrying the combined weight of civilization's hopes, memories, and understanding. And in the vast darkness between the stars, reality itself had learned to resonate with purpose, forever changed by the symphony of names that had proved meaning was not just a human concept, but the very force that made existence possible.